I do like James Cameron's candid interviews, the stuff that he just doesn't care, where he just speaks broadly, couldn't care less. Because why would he? Why would James Cameron care? What he's got to, how people interpret or how people take some of his language. No, I will say, some of the things he says are like, is really bad, right? Like he's gone to war on masculinity. He's talked about guns and like a whole bunch of drivel. He's taken aim at like, partisan politics and all this kind of stuff. However, there are some funny interviews that he does, which definitely worth saying, definitely worth making a video on, definitely worth talking about. This was one of them. So James Cameron basically just speaks about Alien in general. This article here, the headline is, "That was the stupidest effing thing." This is all about Alien 3 and the fact that they just murdered off Hicks and Newt, which, brilliant. Yeah, I mean, everyone agrees with that. Everyone agrees with that. But there's some other stuff in here which I thought was quite interesting. His commentary on Alien Earth, his commentary on Alien Romulus, the disparity between the two of them, what he thinks of each. So we'll get to that. We've got some things to say about that. And also his thoughts on ever coming back to the Alien franchise. Spoiler alert, you apparently couldn't pay him enough money to ever go back to the Alien franchise. But he's more than happy to piddle around with blue cat people, I guess. Obviously makes him more money, doesn't it? Let's be honest. So let's take a look at this. If you enjoy videos like this, I've got to ask, please do hit that subscribe button. It'd be great to have you here more often. But anyway, let's take a look, shall we? So this was all basically just on like some podcast, and it's funny. It's funny. It's really, really funny. So he said, and it's this podcast, by the way, this one. I mean, it is effectively, yes, it's this podcast here. This is Michael Bean's. Is it Michael Bean's podcast? Yeah, it is. He's done quite a few of these podcast things before. Michael Bean just sort of sits down and does these as his own YouTube channel and podcast. It's quite good. Like there was some recent comments that he did before, actually, speaking about his thoughts on like Alien Earth and stuff. But anyway, James Cameron was on there, and so he spoke and was asked about what he thought of David Fincher and Alien 3 and things like that. And he just says, "I thought that was the stupidest effing thing. So you build a lot of goodwill around the characters of, Hicks, Newt and Bishop. And then the first thing they do in the next film is kill them all off, right? Really smart guys, and replace them with a bunch of effing convicts that you hate and want to see die. Really clever." Fair points. Even coming from someone like me, like Alien 3 is a bit of a guilty pleasure for me. It's a bit of a guilty pleasure. I don't absolutely hate it. Like, I just don't. I think that there's some good things in it. I think actually it's aged well. If you watch it, there are dumb things. Like what he's saying is completely true. Completely true. But in terms of having convicts that you hate and that being in a movie, the sort of juxtaposition with Sigourney Weaver and her character going through that journey overall, that actually quite works. It does work. It's that sort of blurred line, grey area in this world, which I thought was actually quite interesting, especially when you again compare that with, these are convicts, the worst of the worst, and then you still compare that with the company and them coming in at the end murdering everyone. You're like, oh, what? Who am I rooting for here? Like, I want the convicts to kind of come out on top on this, and they're horrible people. It's quite a guilty pleasure of mine. Anyway, so then Cameron continued further and says, "Now, I'm a big fan of Fincher and his work and all that, and that was his first feature film, and he was getting vectored around by a lot of other voices and all that. So I give him a free pass on that one," which is fair. That's fair. that is just perfectly... It's an astute observation of the situation. Man, Alien 3, if you've looked into how that film came to be, crazy. Absolutely crazy stuff went on behind the scenes. There was like a wood planet full of monks, and that sort of morphed into the prison. It's all over the place. It is all over the place as a film. And then James Cameron said stuff like this, right? So he went on to share his thoughts on how the franchise has expanded, saying Noah Hawley's Alien Earth is pretty good. I'm guessing James Cameron is friends with Noah Hawley or respects him. It's some kind of like weird in-group preference respect thing that he has for Hawley. And otherwise, he's just mates with him. Because you can't, objectively speaking, like it's actually not pretty good. There are a lot of things wrong with it. And this is coming from someone that enjoyed it up until about episode 4. And then it kind of went downhill from there. And yeah, I don't think they can ever salvage this series ever, to be honest. So, no. And then he went on to basically just say about Romulus, he says, I like parts of it. I think it's inventive. It's different. Freddy did something interesting as well. I particularly like the scene where they're weightless, floating in between the globs of floating alien acid, you know, which is like pretty nightmarish and well done. But that was basically it. He didn't really say anything else. Like quite tepid, actually. I like parts of it. I think it's inventive. Oh, well done. Well done. So everything, like, come on now. I don't know. If you're going to tell me, surely just from an objective perspective, taking out all bias from the equation, which is better, Alien Romulus or Alien Earth? It is Alien Romulus, surely. Like, most people can see that. Like, it at least lines up with the franchise as best as they possibly can do. Alien Earth just... I just pisses in everyone's faces, basically. Anyway, whatever. And it says this, it's been widely reported that Scott stepped in to stop Neil Blomkamp's Alien 5 from becoming a reality due to his plans for Alien prequels, Prometheus and Alien Covenant. Cameron knows nothing about that, but believes Blomkamp would have done something interesting. Interesting doesn't mean good, but alright. And so then he just goes about coming back to Alien. It's like, yeah, you couldn't pay me enough money to go back to that franchise there. It's sort of almost become fan-driven. What? All franchises owe something to the fans. Because you wouldn't have a franchise otherwise, boy. I hate it when people say stuff like this. Like, you legitimately just would not have a franchise if it weren't for the fans. But you just want to, again, just throw all that to one side. Brilliant. Good job. Good job. Super dumb. But anyway, there you go. What else can you say? What else can you say? James Cameron, you said some good stuff in this, some dumb stuff. But yeah, he's never coming back to Alien. Not a surprise. Not a surprise. What do you guys think? Let me know down below. Bye now.